Hey, F3 Omaha, welcome to QSource TV, where we hope to provide weekly reports on F3's Manual of Virtuous Leadership, or QSource. This week, we're starting right at the beginning with the first foundation, Disruption, which is the disturbance to the status quo. I was watching Braveheart the other day, and there's a great scene between William Wallace and Robert the Bruce, where William Wallace is trying to encourage Robert the Bruce to become a disruptor for the people of Scotland. Take a look.
Now, our people know you. Noble and common, they respect you. And if you would just lead them to freedom, they'd follow you. And so would I.
What a great scene and what a great movie. If you haven't seen Braveheart in a while and you have some kids that are kind of in that 8th grade to high school age range, it's great to go back and watch Braveheart with them. A lot of great life lessons in that movie, a lot of good acting and a lot of awesome fight scenes. I highly encourage it. As far as a personal example of how I disrupted the status quo this week, we started a 5th site in the Bennington region. It's called The Crucible, and it's on Wednesdays at 5:15 a.m., Bennington South Middle School, about 168th and Military. And we're going to have Q-Source available at Hey J Coffee every Wednesday after the beatdown. If you haven't been to a Q-Source, or you've only been to a couple, you've only dabbled with Q-Source, I highly encourage you to check it out. Like I said earlier, we're going to start at the beginning and we're going to work our way through the entire book as the year progresses. And what better way to get us started than with this week's Q, and that is my man Stripes. He is considered the godfather of the Bennington region. He is the one who was asked and took the honor and the privilege and the opportunity and the responsibility to actually start the Northwest Bennington region of F3 here in Omaha. Quick bio on Stripes, just to get to know him a little bit better. He is from Fremont, Nebraska, home of the Tigers. He met his M at a Husker tailgate in Lincoln. His hobbies are attending outdoor events. He prefers them to be live, but he loves going to sporting events and concerts. And finally, when I asked Stripes to define what a leader is, he said, someone who influences and inspires others to achieve a common objective or mission. And that pretty much sums up Stripes right there. He's always been there for me since I started F3 about a year ago as a mentor. Anything I've ever needed, any questions I've had, even if I just ask him who the previous site queues were for a certain site, he reminds me that I can look that up on the PaxNet or the internet. But anyways, he still provides the information. He is very informative of all things F3 when it comes to the hierarchy and how leadership works and how the SLT works and all that sort of thing. So he is a wealth of knowledge for new guys, old guys, guys that have been here for about 6 months to a year. It doesn't really matter how long you've been in F3. If you have a question, Stripes is happy to answer it for you. And I had a few questions for him, and he sat down with me to get to know him a little better. Take a watch.
All right, I'm now joined by Stripes. How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. How are you, Milky?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing great. So you're the West Sector First F lead. I had to write that down because it's a mouthful. I didn't want to get it wrong. What exactly does that mean?
It's just a title.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Basically, some of the responsibilities of the first FQs are we just kind of make sure that all the sites are running the way that they're supposed to be running. We're in charge of the Q schools. We're in charge of deciding when it's time to starfish and expand into new communities like we did in Bennington a couple years ago. So a bunch of different things that kind of fall under the first F responsibilities. But obviously the first F is fitness. So most of everything that's fitness related is what the first F team covers.
How long have you and your family been in Bennington?
A little over 10 years now. My middle daughter just turned 10 and we moved in a couple months before she was born. So we've been here for 10 and a half years.
That's a long time to kind of get to know a community. When you were first approached to start the F3 region in Bennington, how did that make you feel? And what did you think about how the Bennington community would take it? Because they've taken it like a duck to water. But how did you think when you were first approached?
Yeah. Well, when I was first approached by when Plague kind of told me that I was going to be the guy to do it. That was the first day I met him. It was the first day I ever posted, so I didn't know even what he was talking about. But when it was more of a serious thing, when Panios approached me about it, about 4 or 5 months after I had gotten going, I was pumped. Definitely was excited about the idea of expanding into a new community. Being Bennington at that point, I had been in Bennington for what 8 years, and had been bleeding Badger blue for a while, so definitely was excited to bring it. Knew there was a ton of awesome guys that would take to it, but knew more importantly that there was a ton of guys that really needed it. Obviously every
Mhm.
community's got their sad clowns and things of that nature. So was pumped to bring it and didn't think that it would blow up nearly as fast as it has. But again, a bunch of awesome dudes um, that have just helped it grow and have given it away, and couldn't be more excited and happy to be a small part of it.
Something that has not happened yet that's going to start happening this Wednesday is Q Source in Bennington. We're going to offer it at the Crucible after the beatdown. For people in Bennington or just in this area that are used to posting around here that don't know even what Q Source means or what it is in the context of after a beatdown, can you just kind of break it down for what it is?
Yeah, I'd say it's a good second F opportunity to not only grow together through a guided discussion of a lot of different topics. My favorite key sources is where you start on the topic, but then you kind of go off into to other areas because again, it's a guided conversation, guided topic discussion over all those different aspects. A lot of really really good topics, obviously on leadership.
This week's P is called Disruption, and it's defined as the disturbance of the status quo. I listened to your Gloom podcast, which it's a great podcast in general, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the on the phone with me right now on a Zoom call, but it was one of the more moving ones in terms of how vulnerable you got in telling your story. But what I found interesting about your interview was that a lot of the things that were maybe status quo that you felt like you had to change in your life, a lot of those happened before F3. So I guess given that that's the first topic that we're going to tackle this week, can you describe how you used to handle breaking the status quo without F3 and maybe how it's changed since you've been a part of F3 for almost a few years now?
When you're going down a road like I was in a lot of areas where things needed to change, you just have to make those hard decisions sometimes. And for me, like with alcohol and things of that nature, it was just a just looking yourself in the mirror and realizing that you're not doing all the right things, not being the best version of yourself. And for me, I think it was probably the discipline that I got from the Marine Corps and from the military to just be able to cold turkey a lot of those decisions, not necessarily have to go through any type of program or go through um, anything like that. It was just that's one thing that you definitely gain from the military is having the self discipline and things of that nature. And I had lost control of that in a lot of aspects of my life, and then just by the grace of God, I changed a lot of things, and it was kind of one positive change led to another positive change to another positive change to another positive change. And for me, that's what really a lot of that is all about, just developing good habits and getting back to the basics and making better decisions. And then once I found F3, all those things had already been changed, and so it was allowed me to really probably even help others in that way.
On September 8th, you'll be celebrating 3 years in F3. Um, the three F's: fitness, fellowship, and faith. In the 3 years since you've been in F3, which one of those three F's has been the most impact, the most change in your life, and why is that?
I'd probably stay the second F, to be honest with you. I came into F3 in pretty good shape from a fitness standpoint. I was at a pretty good spot in my faith journey. I think I've probably um, have come. I've definitely advanced in my faith journey. But from the time that I've always grown up, uh, had a good foundation of faith in my life. The fellowship aspect of it is probably really what I needed most because especially after I quit drinking, my social life started to kind of disappear. The guys that you thought were your best friends maybe weren't including you in all the same things that they used to.
Mm.
I didn't have, I didn't do a lot of the same things that I did when I was drinking from a social standpoint. And it actually, so I don't know that I wouldn't say that I was like lonely from that perspective or anything, but the fellowship and the community and the relationships that I've gained now have definitely filled that void of what I probably thought were some of my best friends who were more just beer drinking buddies. And those guys, you know, are still friends and everything, but I never had the bonds that I've built from F3 uh, from a brotherhood and fellowship perspective, and just the fellowship that you gain every morning, whether it's on a pre-run or after the beat down of coffee is what I look forward to most. So I think I've the biggest impact has probably been on the second F with the relationships that I built and the fellowship that I look forward to every day that I'm out there.
That's awesome. And again, if you haven't had a chance, check out the Gloom podcast. Check it out all the time, but when TJ was on, when Stripes was on, it was really cool. Final question. So, if I'm a guy who's going to go to the Crucible on Wednesday and I go to the Beatdown, but I'm kind of on the fence about this whole Q Source thing, what would you say to a guy like that who's kind of thinking about
Go, just go. Don't be afraid. You don't have to. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's not. It doesn't hurt. You don't have to. Um, you don't. Even if you go and you don't participate like super actively, there's plenty of guys that have been doing it for a while that are going to lead the discussion, that are going to have good things to say, that are going to chime in, and you're not going to get called on or called out or whatever if you're not talking or whatever. You'll gain a lot from just being there, and the more that you go, the more comfortable you'll get in that setting. And it's something that I think everybody should do. And it's just like going to your first time at F3. Don't just go once and decide if it's for you or not. Just like our man Slow Pitch says, give it at least 3 times. Go to Q Source at least
it?
3 times and try to participate. And I guarantee you'll get something out of it.
Well, you heard it from the him who brought F3 to Bennington. He's going to be leading our very first Q Source in Bennington. Please show up to the Crucible and come to Q Source. Thanks so much, Stripes. I appreciate it.
Hey, you bet, Milky. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
All right, F3 Omaha, that's it for this week's edition of Q Source TV. Next up, we have my man Truly, another Northwest guy, and you're not going to want to miss that interview. Very interesting guy. As far as the next foundation, it is called Language, the Lexicon of Virtuous Leadership. See you next week.